Balenciaga, Baal, and the Bible. It's almost laughable to have these things lumped together into one sentence or one title. But when you take them to their extremities, to their extreme, to the distances of them, we're looking at things like child trafficking, sex trafficking, pedophilia, Satanism. And then when you do branch out to the extremities, you're looking at high fashion, the Hollywood elites. And then if you take it even further, you're looking at billionaires, you know, the elite class. And then if you want to take it to the, I'd say further, would be the government. Both this government, America, and outside of this government. It all ties together, if you believe this stuff, it all ties together into one kind of culture of just anti-Christian, anti-God, self-worshiping narcissism, which is Satanism. Satanism is narcissism. It's worship of self. So today we're going to be looking at Balenciaga, Baal, and the Bible, kind of collectively. So as you see on the screen, when we pulling some stuff up, first things first, if you're new here, consider subscribing. We're doing theology, we're doing some politics, we're doing some culture. It's really going to be a scattered, peppered of the three. So the schedule right now is going to be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then I'm going to try to release something on the weekend. It's either going to be Saturday and Sunday. Not really sure. We're trying to start up a Bible study. I'm getting everything figured out for that. We're not quite there yet. But if any of this sounds even remotely your style, consider subscribing. It's going to be consistent. We're going to be on a schedule. It's going to be good stuff. A lot of good stuff coming. But moving on. Let's get this rolling with the first thing to look at, really. You'll see this a lot. You know, news articles, TikTok, Instagram, even the Daily Wire touched on it. You've got the translation, right? So people are taking Balenciaga, they're putting it into a Latin to English translator. Now, what they're having to do is separate into sections, right? That's not how language works. But when you put it in like this, you're going to get Baal is king. Is this Latin? No, it's not Latin. So is it legitimate? There's an argument to be had. Do I think it's weird? Yeah, it's really weird. It's really weird. You can't really deny that that is very weird. And then if you want to take that further, there's another one you can do where you can break it up even further. They're saying that this is the Latin way. So this is without putting the double A, right, to make it Baal. You just put Balenciaga. Do what you want. Does that ring a bell for anyone? Satanism, the occult. It's basically their motto. Do as thou wilt. Do what you want. Because it's self-worship. It's doing whatever you want. It's not doing as you are commanded by God. It's doing what you want. So again, is this Latin? No, it's not Latin. It's not proper. So why it's even being translated like this, genuinely, I don't really know. But is that weird? It's pretty weird. It's pretty weird, especially considering you have both of these translations, both Baal is king, and then do what you want. It is an odd thing, but we'll get into it. Again, it's not Latin, so how much validity really is there in it? But it doesn't mean that they still couldn't intentionally set it up that way. But who knows? I'm not super set on this translation thing. It's just something to consider. It's something to look at. It's something that is there, whether it's valid or not. But first we're going to talk about, actually, no, first we're going to stop. I'm going to be showing you guys some things in this video that are not child friendly. And in my opinion, they are not teenager friendly. There's going to be some relatively graphic stuff, nothing pornographic or anything like that, but things that are just kind of gruesome. They're gross. They've been in other YouTube videos, so they're out there. You know, it's not like new or weird. I mean, it's very weird, but it's not going to be something that certain people who are watching this right now haven't already seen on another YouTube channel or just on Twitter or whatever, you know. But it's disturbing. It's odd. It's not for kids is the point. It's not for kids. And the sad part is that it is of kids. It is of kids. But I'm asking you, please, if you're a kid, if you're under 15, 16, 17, please don't watch this. And even if you are 15, 16, or 17, please don't watch this. You know, I can't stop you. But if you're younger, please turn this off. Go watch something else. It's not for you. No, that's over with. I have researched everything I'm going to show you. So I found some Twitter posts, threads that they're compilations of a lot of information. I have gone through every single point out of Twitter, because social media is not where you should do research, out of Twitter, and I've confirmed the vast majority of it. So Twitter is a good place where you can kind of get everything together, read through something very simple, all put together in one thread. So we're going to do that. Just know that I have done my due diligence. I have looked through all of this extensively. It's been the majority of my day today, but I was looking into it before that as well. First things first, though, let's look at Baal, because, well, actually, let me show you that first. Before anything else, we got some photos here. Ignore that one for now. What are we looking at this? This was an ad for a sneaker. It's these sneakers that he's got on. I think they're called Triple S from Balenciaga. Now, whoever put this picture together has done green squares over certain things. I did the red circles. So a couple things to look at. The red shoes. There's a conspiracy around this. I'll show you very briefly what it is. I don't know. I don't know about the red shoe thing. There's some stuff out there. It looks like it started in 2017 in a Reddit post because he was seeing something about red shoes in Hollywood in his news feed, and he wanted to know more about it, and then it kind of took off from there. So there is a conspiracy theory around red shoes. It's not what I want to focus on. There's not a whole lot about it. I don't know how true it is, but I wouldn't at all be surprised if what they're saying about it is absolutely true. 0% surprised if it is. Moving on from the shoes, bottom left-hand corner of the screen, you're going to see the BDSM bear. This is what's been in the news. Everybody, I feel like, has seen pictures of this by now. Everybody has heard something about it, whether it be from Kanye West or literally in the mainstream media, because they finally were forced to pick it up and talk about it. But we all know about BDSM bears. We all know that's wicked. We all know it's wrong. We're not going to talk about it right now to save time. Moving top right-hand corner of the screen, green box. You've got the white rabbit. We're not going to get into that today, again, for the sake of time. But you can Google white rabbit Hollywood elite, and you'll be able to find tons of information on it. It's a very old conspiracy theory. It's extremely old, so you'll be able to find tons of information on it. Now, top right red circle. Here is a zoomed in picture. This is a depiction of Baal. Baal is what we're about to start talking about. But in this image, this ad from Balenciaga with the kid for the shoes, you've got a depiction of Baal. Bottom of the screen, the big zoomed in part, you got caution tape. That says Balenciaga in the yellow caution tape. It's spelled B-A-A-L, Balenciaga. Look at the kid's feet. He's standing on a mat. It says Balenciaga. B-A-L, single A. So people are kind of losing their minds about this because this has to be intentional. There's no other way to really make sense of it. It's a custom product, the caution tape. They had to pay a company to custom make this, and they spelled it B-A-A-L. Now, if they accidentally sent that to the company would say, hey, there's an error in the spelling. Would you like us to fix this? And then they'd be like, yeah, go ahead, fix it. Thanks. Appreciate you catching that. Good looking out. That's not what it is. It's an intentional thing. Why they did it, you can only speculate. But when you've got a depiction of Baal behind the child, when Balenciaga has an extensive history with Satanism and the occult and pedophilia and just generally weird, wicked, horrific stuff, it's not surprising, or it wouldn't be surprising that they would have that custom made like that as a little, Easter egg, if you want to call it that. But who is Baal? Many of you probably don't know who Baal is. So I'm going to read you kind of a general depiction. It's fairly short, but this is Baal. Baal was the title of the god worshipped in ancient Canaan and Phoenicia. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Phoenicia. The worship of Baal penetrated Jewish religious life during the period of Judges 3:7. Became common in Israel during the rule of Ahab, 1 Kings 16:31-33, and also influenced Judah, 2 Chronicles 28:1-2. A brief history of Baal. Got a couple paragraphs here. Archaeological excavations have dated information about Baal back as far as the 2nd millennium BC, and the spread of Baal worship caught fire in Egypt in 1400 BC. but they could have existed long before that. When God established the law, including laws against eating pork, since pig slaughter and sacrifice were a hallmark of Baal worship, Baal worship also included, at times, child sacrifice. Interesting. Which we see some Israelite kings engaging in later on. Child sacrifice. You mean like that? Baal is a Canaanite deity who kids were ritualistically sacrificed to. That is who Baal is. This is very well documented. So, did they intentionally do this? Does it align with what it seems like Balenciaga is all about, where children are depicted in these horrific images, and where there's even cannibalism depicted in a lot of it? It kind of adds up, right? Going back, Baal. Despite God's efforts to dissuade them, the Israelites engaged with the Canaanites' culture a little too much and adopted their practices, including Baal worship. You can find a lot of information about that. Even as the Canaanite religion waned, Baal took on a new role as Zeus in the ancient Greek pantheon. Not only do the Jews have to deal with the abomination of Zeus and, what is that? Antiochus Epiphanes. Antiochus Epiphanes. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Daniel 8, you can find that. But the Greek pantheon later gets repeated in the Roman pantheon, and practices from both the Greeks and the Romans still exist today. Translational issues we already talked about. Now you've had a little taste of kind of what we are talking about, where this is coming from. This is the primary image that people are getting this from. Now, let's talk about Balenciaga. Balenciaga has deep ties, like I said earlier, to Satanism in general. And then to children's involvement in satanic rituals and practices. It is years old. Their lead designer, Lada Valkova, has some extremely disturbing images. So again, before we show those, if you are young, meaning a teenager or younger, I urge you to shut this off. Not because you're not mature enough, not because I don't trust you, but it is just not cool. It's not cool pictures. These pictures are not cool. They're not for a child's mind. So please turn it off. And if you are someone who's easily, shaken, then maybe you shouldn't watch either, whether you're an adult or not. Here's the first 4. Top right, you've got a girl laying. I don't know what to make of this. Michael Knowles had some stuff to say on it. I don't know. It's just odd. Top right. Again, just odd. You've got what looks like a young boy, and I could be wrong, but it looks like a young boy, possibly. Maybe it's a girl. The hair is a bit long. Either way, you've got a child with no shirt on and high heels in a very awkward, weird, possibly sexual pose. Either way, again, it's just not cool. Not cool. Don't like those images. Bottom left, worst of all in this round, is just a blood bath of a young girl's bedroom. Why? Oh, it's art. It's an expression. It's an expression of what? It's disturbing. It's sick. And whoever's expressing this, they need help. Something is wrong if this is what you need to express. And then to make it public, you are doing the public no good. You're doing a disservice to the public by making this art. It's sick. Bottom right, you got a teddy bear, which is, they just love teddy bears. I wonder why. Maybe because it has to do with children. It's not, I wouldn't say that's BDSM, but maybe. But it looks like maybe a hostage kidnap prisoner scenario, which again is tied in to all of this as well. Just disturbing, right? Next 4. Equally, if not more disturbing, these 4. Top right, you've got 2 people. They look to be adults in this one, in head bags, and then their entire bodies are bagged, then taped. It's just bizarre. What does it mean? I have no idea, but it's very odd. It's very odd. It's not conducive to society. It's weird. Top right, you got a kid holding a skeleton. Who doesn't love that? Again, bizarre, very weird, inappropriate, child abuse, in my opinion. I'd be shocked to see if this child grows up healthy, because guaranteed that's not the only shot he's ever done. You know, I'm sure he's in tons of other stuff. It's not good for a child. Like, whose kid is that? Who is signing off on that? Something is wrong. Bottom left, the most disturbing of all, in my opinion. You've got a kid tied up to a chair. This is definitely a kid, you know, maybe 10, 12 years old, taped to a chair, ankles bound, and with headphones on, plugged into a laptop on the counter behind her of what appears to be 1, 2, 3, 4 men. Don't know what she's listening to. You know, there's no context given, but no matter what, it's sick. It's very odd. There's no reason for this. That is abuse. To put a child through that, for a photo shoot or not, is abuse. Period. Bottom right, you've got, again, what appears to be a child with their guts hanging out in a beautiful field. Just a gorgeous picture. And then horrific. Why? Why? Lot of Alcova, of Balenciaga. This is their idea of art. Let's look at a few more. This is from her as well. I believe if this is not from Lot of Alcova, then it is from Balenciaga. So either way, there you go. Extremely satanic. Obviously, there's really no arguing with that. They made it pretty plain as day. They're not trying to hide this. And a lot of that comes from, there's this idea within Satanism that if you hide what you're doing, there's karmic retribution. So if they were to hide what they were doing fully and try to trick people and sneak this on people, then they fear that there will be karmic retribution that comes back to them. So what they do instead is they make it plain as day. And what they're trying to do is normalize it. So there's never any karmic retribution to them. Because if they can get everybody to believe that this is normal, then they never have to worry about having to hide it. And then they never have to worry about retribution. Look it up. That is a part of the satanic cult. Retribution. Fear of karmic retribution. So they are loud, they are proud, and they're trying to normalize this so that nobody thinks anything about it. So they can be just fully honest, all on Front Street, no problem whatsoever. That's it for the photos there. But that's a lot of Alcova, of Balenciaga, just absolutely disturbing. Now, moving on, like I said, to the red shoe thing. Again, we're not going to get really into this, but members supposedly engage in a whole host of activities, including kidnapping, trafficking, and that's not the worst of it. Again, it's worth stressing that the so-called club, the Red Shoe Club, is a baseless conspiracy theory, is what this, the focus is calling it. There's no evidence that such a club exists. But that's kind of conspiracy. A lot of people, so they tie it to the Wayfair thing, right? So back in 2020, 2019, there was, I don't know if it's conspiracy or not, but Wayfair basically had very expensive furniture that was listed under young girls or young boys' names, and it was extremely overpriced, like extremely expensive. So there was this big conspiracy that started that Wayfair was human trafficking. That with the expensive furniture, you were really paying for the furniture, but also for a child. So that blew up. And if you haven't heard about that or you don't know about it, look it up. But people who believe in this Red Shoe Club are very similar in practice. They're tying it to the Wayfair thing. So we're going to zoom through these fairly fast. I'm not going to read it all or anything like that. I can give you guys these sources if you want to read through the full threads. But basically, he starts with the image that we looked at, kind of breaking it down. What is it? He points out the Baal thing, and then he goes on to, this is where I pulled this image from, just explaining to people who don't know, that's who Baal is, in a obviously very short manner. Then he moves on to this, which I did not know about, and I found fairly interesting. I was not surprised because it's high fashion. I don't care about high fashion. If that's shocking to you, then you don't know me. But I don't care, so I don't know much about it. My girl knows a lot more than I do about it, and she's not really into fashion, but she's into conspiracy. So you got Fendi or Fendi, I don't know how you say that, but it's a very expensive, obviously very high fashion brand, and there's a lot of information about some weird stuff that they have done. So he goes on to talk about living in Rome, as Romans know, the most iconic buildings, yada yada yada. This very old, very prominent fascist architecture that this clothing company, I'm sorry, not clothing, but just this fashion company purchased. So he goes on to talk about Germany and the period of denazification. Every public swastika was destroyed. Italy never had such a program. And then the obelisk dedicated to Mussolini and his project. The most iconic fascist monument in the area is the Colossia Quadrato. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. It was Mussolini's take on the Colosseum. His fascist Colosseum was square and avant-garde. 6 by 9 was the dimensions of its opening, 6 for the letters in Benito, and 9 for Mussolini. So those are the two buildings there. Guess who bought the building and made it its headquarters in Rome? Fendi or Fendi, however you say that. This was controversial even at the time, but one building could be a coincidence, but no. Fendi has consistently bought up multiple old fascist buildings as their stores in Italy for the past 30 years. The symbolism is undeniable, and I agree, that's undeniable. And then if you continue going, he just keeps stacking because the thread was getting so much engagement. He's like, oh, here then this, here then this. But he goes on to kind of jump around, and he even says not to jump around too much, but this is getting a lot of attention, so I might as well drop some black pills. During the Catholic World Youth Day, the Vatican has special vestments created that were only used once. Definitely don't research who created the clothing. Now, look, I'm going to make this bigger. Look at this. You can verify this. And Catholics, genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, I am sorry. I'm sorry that this is the leadership within that faith, that denomination of Christianity. It genuinely breaks my heart that a lot of Catholics are blind to what the Pope and what the magisterium has been doing, is doing, and will continue to do. It breaks my heart, but this is just reality. Here is a letter, if you want to call it that, identification from the FBI. The logo you saw in the top right, where the pictures are, top right of the two columns, it is a boy lover. And it's a pedophile symbol, basically. Again, do your own research, take what I'm telling you, plug it in, and go down a rabbit hole. There is tons of information. He's tried to zoom in on that and get you a clearer picture. I think I was able to get a little bit better resolution on the one that I showed you. Again, now let's analyze the rainbow imagery. You see rainbows a lot. Now, this is where people try to connect the Satanism to the LGBTQ thing. I don't know, but maybe don't use weird occult symbols as, your trademark. As it seems that they've made the rainbow colors their trademark, the LGBTQ crowd. I don't know. I'm not saying they're connected. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm not, whatever. Take it or leave it. Let's analyze the rainbow imagery. You're probably all familiar with the Kubrick's last movie, Eyes Wide Shut. I'm not. And I didn't look into that, so I can't speak to it. An expose on elite Satanism, sexual abuse. Rainbows are prominent in the movie. Wouldn't surprise me. Two women try and lead Tom's character away in the beginning. He asks where they are going. They say where the rainbow ends. This is also an allusion to elite pedophilia. Along with the rabbit symbolism, white rabbit, and then he pulled a screenshot from that main image we looked at. Notice the rainbow slinky next to the rabbit. You can't really see it, but I can tell that it's there. On the left side, it's pink, transitions into blue, green, and then yellow. And then orange, I guess. The weird elite pedophilic obsession with rainbows and rabbits goes back to Lewis Carroll, author of Alice in Wonderland. Did you know he was a pedophile? Look it up. I did look it up, and there is a good amount of information around that. Again, I'm not going to make a final call or anything, but you can find a lot of information about it. I'm not going to spoon feed you obvious stuff, so just do the research. And I think this is basically where we can end it. This will be the last point. Again, I'm not going to spoon feed you stuff that you already know. Instead, let's discuss how this could intersect with something more relevant. Remember the whole NXIVM Hollywood sex cult scandal? I don't, so I had to look into it, and I did. Look at the name of one of their subsidiaries. The Rainbow Culture Garden. Now, I did look into it, and it's an executive success program that is linked to tons of sex trafficking, child abuse, things within the nature of what we're talking about now. Okay, yeah, so he goes on, and then this is where he gets into the red shoe thing, and I don't really want to get into that because, again, I don't think there's a lot of information about it. I wasn't able to find a lot, so I don't want to speak to something that I'm not relatively confident about. So moving on to the next Twitter post. This is going to be very, very short. We're about to be done. But this is just some work from Balenciaga. So I believe this is a journalist. If not, she kind of acts as a journalist independently. But this is a shot from Balenciaga. Notice the books in the corner of the desk. You zoom in, you've got Michael Borman's. And then here is the book itself, Fire from the Sun. Now, if you were to plug Fire from the Sun, Michael Borman's, into Google Images, you are going to find some graphic stuff, some very, very odd stuff. Zooms in here, just show you again. Look, here's a few. Obviously, occult. Don't know how you dance around it. Occult images, occult depictions. Here you've got severed legs on fire, or so it appears. Silhouettes of bodies, clothes of bodies. What does that mean? It's not good. Regardless of what you think, it's not good. And then here is some occult imagery, some good old ritualistic sacrifice or something to that effect. Either way, again, just not good stuff. Not great stuff. Not wholesome stuff. There's a lot more that I absolutely am not going to show you. But if you go to Google and you look up that book, you will find cannibalism. You'll find very, very obvious occult rituals. And you will find some very disturbing images that include children, where children are engaging in cannibalistic activities, engaging in occult rituals. Man, the whole thing is so wicked. What is the purpose of it? What are they doing? They're systematically trying to normalize pedophilia. They're systematically trying to normalize Satanism and the occult. They're systematically trying to normalize narcissism, caring and worshiping oneself, caring about and worshiping oneself rather than worshiping God. This is their goal. This is their mission. And in my opinion, they're doing a real good job, because I believe Christians in general are weak. I believe the church is weak. I believe the church is afraid, because otherwise you would have pastors talking about this stuff. You would have pastors heavily talking about this. They would be in church. They would be preaching against this. They would be preaching about how Christians need to be strong. We need to get together. We need to fight against this. This cannot stand. This cannot come into our church, like we've looked at a couple days, I guess a week ago now. But this satanic, this pedophilia, this immoral behavior cannot be in our church first and foremost, but then we need to go out of the church. We need to minister. We need to be involved in this stuff. I recently joined TikTok. It makes sense. Give me a second. I joined TikTok because TikTok is a spiritual freaking war zone. TikTok has some of the most sick, just immoral, childhood degrading content that you'd ever seen. And if you're saying, I have TikTok, I've never seen that. Well, you've done a good job of curating your algorithm. But young kids don't do that. Young kids will just take and consume whatever hits the screen. And then they'll like it. And depending on how long they watch it and who they follow, it just reinforces the algorithm to keep feeding them that and feeding them that. And they may not know that they're doing that, but they are. And then it becomes all that they see. And then they become consumed with it. And then they become it. And that is the fear. That is how they take over. That's how they inject and infect the church. That's how they infect the young kids' minds. As an adult, you can control your algorithm because you say, I don't like that. I don't agree with that. I skip right away. Therefore, you didn't watch it very long. Therefore, the algorithm doesn't make you watch more of it. You don't like it. Therefore, the algorithm says, okay, don't give them that. We want them to stay on the platform. We need to feed them something they like. So the enemy is willing to take losses by letting you see things that you want to see because you're an adult and you can choose and you're intelligent, and they'll let you have that. But the enemy's got the kids, man. He's got them. Because kids don't get that. So they see something, even if they're like, wow, that's really weird, they're going to watch it. And then the more they see it, the more times it scrolls past their friggin' eyes, they start to like it. It starts to become normal, which is exactly what they're trying to do. They're normalizing this. So anyways, I joined TikTok so that I can start pumping the things that I do out into that spiritual war zone. That is what we need to be doing in real life. Churches need to be taking what they know is right, need to be taking Christian principles and practices, and they need to be leaving the church and going out into the world and putting that out there. I don't see a lot of it. I see churches who are afraid. I see churches who won't talk about Balenciaga, about Satanism, about pedophilia, because they don't want to be on the news, right? I think Jesus did some stuff that if it were today, he would have been on the news. He would have gotten a lot of hate. Jesus definitely would have been canceled, right? He absolutely would have been canceled. So when the church is not doing what they know they should be doing, being loud, being very much loud and against this type of stuff. And again, don't tie this to LGBTQ. This is the problem. They're trying to lump so much stuff together so that you are confused. And if you speak out against one thing, you're speaking out against other. No. Satanism, not okay. 0%. No arguments be had. Pedophilia, 0%. There's no arguments be had. It is immoral. It is wrong. It is disgusting. These people should go to jail. At least go to jail. When you start tying that into LGBTQ, AI+, and homosexuals and stuff like that, then you're muddying the water. Do not muddy the water. Pedophilia, 100%, no questions asked, is a jail cell. That is where you should go. Satanism, 100%, no questions asked, is wrong. Not saying they should go to jail, saying it's wrong. But if you start lumping homosexuals and LGBTQ and all these things where there is debate to be had, you can have debates about that stuff. In with things like pedophilia, then you lose. Don't do it. Keep them separate. Pedophilia is wrong. BDSM bears are wrong. Cannibalism is wrong. Satanism is wrong. These things are absolutely true. If you are a Christian, they're absolutes. There is no conversation to be had. There is no room for it anywhere. Don't mix that with the culture stuff. That's what they're trying to do so that they can sneak this stuff in and normalize it alongside the LGBTQIA. Do not let them do that. They are separate things. They need to be discussed and condemned as separate things. I don't want to condemn homosexuals. It's not my place. I have opinions about their lifestyle, but I know gay people who are awesome. I don't think they should go to jail. Pedophiles, you go to jail. You should go to jail. Satanists, I don't think you should go to jail necessarily, but I don't want anything to do with you. I don't want to know if you're an okay guy. You are not coming anywhere near me, because our worldviews collide in a way that you cannot reconcile. I can have a conversation with someone in the LGBTQIA. I have one scheduled. I can have a conversation with someone who just has different views than me or has a different lifestyle than me that I may think is immoral, or I just don't like, or I think is against what God wants for their life. That's fine, but I can still have a conversation with them. I can still be friendly with them. What that's called is ministry. But when you have people going out and making depictions of kids doing sexual things or kids eating people, there is no conversation to be had. It's a bridge too far, if you want to put it like that. There's no reconciling that. I hope that makes sense. I feel like I've already gone way over time, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Again, if you're new, and you're into stuff like this, consider subscribing. I've got all the social media up at the top there. It's at Tattoo Theist, literally everywhere. So if you know my username, you'll be able to find me anywhere. Again, TikTok is new. It's a war zone. So if you're on there and you want to help me out, find me on there and follow me. Until next time, I love you guys. Have a beautiful evening. Don't let this stuff get to you, but keep it in your mind. Keep it present in your mind, because this is happening. It's been happening. And it's something that needs to end. I hope we can all agree on that. Love you guys. Have a good night.